The hunter's encounter. The trees whispered secrets as I treaded through the dense wilderness, my footsteps swallowed by the damp undergrowth. It was just another day in the Pacific Northwest, where the evergreen guardians stand tall, concealing the mysteries that lie within. My name is Lucas, a hunter entangled in the obscure web spun by a team of cryptozoologists, desperate souls in search of elusive creatures. Today, our target is the legendary Sasquatch, a subject of countless folklore and debate. The morning mist clung to my skin, chilling me to the bone. I couldn't help but wonder what draws these beings to such remote corners of existence. Is it the allure of the untamed wilderness or their desire to hide from the prying eyes of mankind? As I trudged forward, a shiver slithered down my spine, a premonition of the darkness lurking in these ancient woods. My mind danced with fragmented images, footprints in the mud, towering figures glimpsed from the corner of my eye. The legends echo through my thoughts, tales of encounters with these mysterious creatures, their massive frames and haunting cries. They've remained elusive for centuries, but our determined crew believes this expedition will rewrite history. Perhaps, in our relentless pursuit, we've unwittingly awakened something darker. Though I am a hunter and guide by trade for this specific expedition, I'd been recruited by the lead zoologist as backup insurance, security/bodyguard, disguised as the guy who was merely there to pull the trigger on the tranquilizer gun, in the event we couldn't get the Sasquatch to go into one of the portable cages willingly. I used the term tranquilizer gun sarcastically. It's what all the other scientists had been told I was carrying, all of them ignorant to the fact that what I really had slung over my shoulder was a Henry 45-70 government lever action, that held 6 rounds capable of taking down a grizzly bear or an elephant with just one shot. My senses were heightened, the sounds of nature pulsating around me. Every rustle, every snap of a branch sent a jolt through my veins. A silence settled over the forest, the eerie calm before the storm. And then, I heard it, the sound of a large tree branch being smacked against the base of a large redwood, followed by a primal howl, the mournful cry of the Sasquatch. This was merely our first signs of contact. The rain thickened as we made our way along the overgrown trail up the mountain. We had begun our journey in the wee hours of the morning, but now it was noon, and we stopped to set up a primitive campsite to rest for an hour or so and eat lunch. While we were resting, our break was interrupted by a large boulder, rolling down the mountainside, crashing right through the middle of our camp. The boulder barely missing myself and several of the other cryptozoologists. As the boulder came to a stop, I grabbed my Henry 45-70 rifle, racked around in the chamber and began looking through my sights through the thickness of the mountainous overgrowth to see if I could see the party responsible for casting the boulder through our campsite. But no matter how vigilantly I looked for the responsible party at hand, my efforts were futile. Gabe, the lead cryptozoologist, motioned for me to put my rifle down, and commanded the others to start packing up camp. By the end of the hour we were back on our way up the mountain. Lydia, who was more of a primatologist, who dabbled in the crypto world, and had only been recruited for her vast knowledge of primate species throughout the world, had been very standoffish with me at first, for her lack of understanding of the men and my vocation, but now, after the close encounter back at the camp, she more or less clung the back of my rucksack as we made our way up the trail. I suppose deep down, on a primal level, she understood that in the event of a real attack, I was the only one any of them could depend on for self-defense. As we hiked up a bit further on the trail, Gabe signaled for us to stop, frantically motioning for the others to gather round, as he had found something in the ground. As we all assembled around him, we were amazed at the sight before our eyes. There, imprinted in the muddy earth, was a footprint, but not one of a shoe or hiking boot, but of a bare foot, that was 3 or 4 times the size of that of any normal human. This one had to have belonged to a creature towering no less than 8 or 9 feet tall. When asked what she thought about the print, Lydia said that while it was very similar to that of a human footprint despite its large size, it was probably more closely related to that of a Gigantopithecus, which was an ancient ape-like descendant indigenous to the Asia/Eurasia region, and was long thought to have been extinct thousands of years ago. But the more cryptozoologists studied Bigfoot, the more popular the hypothesis that the American Sasquatch was just a long-lost Gigantopithecus. The scientists took their photos and made their plaster molds of the footprint, and once they were done we yet again embarked upon our expedition. Lydia was no longer acting like my shadow and was now further up the trail yammering on with Gabe about all the different possibilities the footprint they had come across meant. And if the scientific community would give them any credibility for what they had found. Myself, however, was lost deep in my own thought. I've tracked game all my life and never in all my years had I ever seen just one solitary footprint. It was almost as if it had been planted, as if someone or something wanted us to come across that footprint, and all those yuppie scientists were too blinded by their own excitement to see it. It was now late afternoon and dusk had begun to set upon us. It was going to be another 12 hours of hiking before we reached the summit of the mountain, and there was no way that we had enough time left in the day to reach that destination, so we decided to make camp for the night. As we all sat around the campfire heating up our individual meals that we had packed, I kept a can of bear spray close just in case we lured some unwanted grizzlies to the campsite, knowing that the aroma of cooked food was bound to sift through the mountain air like crazy. However, as we were sitting there, the only smell that I was able to smell was that of something extremely musky. I even checked my own pits to make sure that it wasn't me that I was smelling. Don't get me wrong, I didn't smell great, but it was nothing compared to the other stench that I was smelling. I wasn't the only one that could smell the stench either. As we all sat there with our noses in the air, the hair stood up on the back of the neck as I heard the sound of a tree branch smacking against a tree again, only this time the sound wasn't from far off. It sounded as if it was only a couple of feet away. Shortly after that, we began to hear the howls, but it wasn't the howl of a solitary creature like we thought we would encounter. This was the sound of a pack of creatures. Is it wolves? One of the cryptozoologists cried out. I shook my head no as I once again reached for my rifle, cocking it for readiness. The sound of leaves and branches crackled all around us. We were being flanked. It was then that I realized I was no longer a member of a hunting party, but a party of hunted prey. A wind swept through the camp, and the fire was put out like the flame of a candle. Our excitement was short-lived as their piercing gazes began to find us, their amber eyes burning with fury. The leader of the Sasquatch stepped out from the thicket of the brush, his silhouette vaguely outlined by the light of the moon. He was tall, with long strands of hair flapping around in the wind that had put out the campfire. His large shelf of a brow was thick black and hairless like that of a Neanderthal. And though he was the only one that I could see, it was more than evident that he was not alone. Without hesitating, I raised my rifle, put his bulging hairy chest in my crosshairs, and fired off a shot. A shot which would have knocked any ordinary man, or animal for that matter, straight to the ground. But the beast just stood there, as if nothing had happened. I cocked another round into the chamber, my spent shell flipping off to the side of me, and I fired another round. The forest transforms into a battleground of survival, where ancient instincts clash with modern ambition. Panic gripped our hearts as they surged forward, a thunderous orchestra of rage. Claws and teeth tore through the air, ripping flesh and shattering bones. Fear danced in my eyes as I realized the audacity of our quest, the arrogance that led us to believe we could tame these untamed beings. Blood stained the emerald foliage, the once vibrant landscape tainted by violence and regret. In the midst of the chaos, I was able to catch a glimpse of the Sasquatch family's unity, their ferocity defending what was rightfully theirs. They fought not out of malice, but out of a desperate need to protect their sacred sanctuary. In their eyes, I see the reflection of my own hubris, a stark reminder that some secrets are better left undisturbed. As the darkness engulfed me, pain merging with the symphony of destruction, I realized the true nature of these ancient guardians. They are the essence of the wild, the embodiment of an untamed spirit that defies capture and control. The forest shall forever bear the scars of our trespass, a testament to the insatiable hunger for power and the tragic consequences that followed. As my final breath escaped me, swallowed by the ethereal canopy above, the Sasquatch family, victorious, retreated into the shadows, leaving behind a shattered team of cryptozoologists and a hunter, a scene which would be left as a reminder of a cautionary tale etched in the heart of the Pacific Northwest.